morning. This is Debra V. Wilson. It is Monday, the 24th of December 2018. It's Christmas Eve, and I'm in West Yorkshire, and the time is 800 hours and 55 minutes, and that's GMT. In West Yorkshire, is in England. I'm in England. Okay, so I'm going to do a lot of, I'm trying not to do too much of but I am working through this. This is a work in progress. By the way, I have a Patreon account, and I will post the link to my Patreon account. I'd like to use my Patreon account because I am registered in a school in Canada, but it does not have a research-based degree that I seek. So my goal is to seek funding from a government agency, preferably here, a government here in England, the UK, Great Britain, and north of Ireland, right? And so what I want to do is, whilst I'm doing my research, there's a component of the academic, my academic endeavors that happen within academia. So I need a supervisor, and I have to have a planned course of research activity to produce the work to earn my MPhil, or a research-based master's degree, right? But I also thought it's part of working on that if I could partner up with a government agency, that I would be able to, as I'm going through my research and working, to get feedback from practitioners and to get a sense of if what I'm doing is on target or not on target, and just to get a perspective from practitioners. Many years ago, when I traveled into the UK, I was questioned about my activities because they were atypical. I spent a lot of time going between various activist communities, civil society spaces of all political ideologies. And there came a time this special branch, which is SO15 here in Britain, asked me what I was doing. And I was continually questioned about my research. The interesting thing about it is the questions led me to garner a better understanding of how practitioners understand or understood at that time what was happening. And my scope was London, although my network extended beyond London and beyond this country. In any case, so that was that. So now today, this morning, what I'm going to try to get through as quickly as efficiently as possible, I always look at society as being analogous to the human body, and that society as a whole, and then civil society can be looked at as a part of the response system to indicate the health of the body, almost like an immunal response. The immune system. It's not the best analogy, but bear with me. One of the ways in which one of my parents, my mother, was a medical professional, a nurse, and one of the ways in which doctors diagnose ill health is a part of the body is functioning in a way that's not quote-unquote normal, right? I think if you extend that analogy to the responses of civil society, not with the binary of normal or abnormal, but with the binary, through a lens of understanding what the activism might represent, it can give you a clearer picture, nuance the picture of aspects of the larger society. So I'm going to give you 3 examples. As you know, I'm a survivor of the Troubles. I spent some time in Dundalk, in the Republic of Ireland, south of Ireland, and through the tail end of the Troubles. And August of 2010, I had the good fortune to be told by these 2 wonderful women, feminists from Belfast, about Hannas House Summer School. It was held in Belfast from the 27th of August of 2010 to the 29th of August of 2010. Hannas House looked at the Troubles, among other things, from an analysis and a response of civil society, individual women, civilians, but who were not necessarily organized as civil society actors, and academia. So they understood and digested the troubles through those three perspectives. There were other perspectives in which they looked at, but it was from civil society, individuals, civilians, and then from academia. So if you attended that event, you got a sense of how the troubles were understood and experienced by some people, right? Okay, so now I'm going to move on to the next example. It's, and I'm posting all the links in the description box of this podcast. So there's DIY gunshot treatment on Chicago's South Side. I'm from the South Side of Chicago. I grew up in a community that was host to quite a lot of gang activity. It was actually one of the most powerful gangs, not just in Chicago, but in the country, emanated from my neighborhood, and I know the response we had as a community. The gang was called at that time Blackstone Rangers. They have a myriad of names, but they at that time were known as the Blackstone Rangers. So this particular response from individual civilians and civil society is a response to the numerous gunshots, the gun violence in America, in Chicago. And the issue in Chicago, the challenge in Chicago, is the paramedics are people. And when I lived in Chicago, and I haven't been there now for 8 years, yeah, it's getting on 9, but it's 8 years I haven't lived in Chicago. But the rule was, if it wasn't safe for the paramedics to come into the space, because the gunshots were still going on, they didn't come in. In the meantime, you might have had people who were shot, and what that might mean. So the people in this community, there's people in the South Side of Chicago, some of them have responded by doing DIY gunshot treatment. So if you watch this YouTube video, which I hope you will get an understanding of how these particular people experience the violence, the extremism of gun violence in Chicago and their response. So the last one is a agency, the Commission for Countering Extremism. The lead commissioner is Sarah Khan. And the commission has done a call for evidence. And I hope I get all of my terminologies correct here, but I'm posting the link. And Sarah Khan is this call for evidence, and the study will look at 5 themes: public understanding of extremism, scale of extremism, extremist tactics and objectives, harms caused by extremism, and effectiveness of current response. So it's the first 2 things that I'm looking at, and this plays into my podcast. So the way I experience what Sarah Khan's call is that she wants to understand how the public, civil society, academia, individuals are experiencing extremism in England and Wales, right? And then the last one, the effectiveness of current response, that's the nation's security modeling, security and policing modeling. So you're, in essence, I see this call for evidence as the commissioner, the lead commissioner is asking us, the public, how do you understand extremism? And how do you understand our response? And I think from that, I believe this tool can be a tool for the country's government to better understand some of the activism, left, right, and in center. Some of that activism might be crossing the boundaries of what's appropriate, but it might give the government, the country's government, a better understanding of how and why people are responding the way in which they are based on their understanding of extremism and how they feel about the space they live in. So these are three different distinct examples that I hope you will take a look at. One deals with the Troubles, one deals with gun violence in Chicago, and one is looking at extremism, a call for evidence, a call to hear the voices of people here in England and Wales about the ways in which they view extremism. So this is Debra V. Wilson. I hope that was clear. I feel like a lot of, well, it is a work in progress, and I sometimes I get up in the morning and I think, oh wow, I think I've got an incredibly clever idea, and I'm making connections, and I want to continue to engage on my YouTube channel and now my Patreon channel page. So I hope I'm clear, and I hope I'm piquing an interest in at least someone to look at civil society is, no matter what its manifestation is, as a response that might inform fellow citizens as well as the state of how some individuals in a particular space are experiencing their environment. This is Debra V. Wilson. Happy, Merry Christmas, and Happy New Year. Thank you.